want you all to get ready for the most imaginative and exciting sound you're ever going to hear, I think. It's the music of Utopia.
Welcome to the new world. Utopia.
What's the point in us making records exactly like everybody else makes records?
Who were these strange and wonderful beings? Theosophy answers that they were and still are members of the immortal race of the teachers of mankind, perfected men, masters of the wisdom and of life and of death.
Reading like crazy, dozens and dozens of books about specialized subjects that seem to interest me at this point. And we have a hot little number called The 7 Human Temperaments, which has caused a lot of excitement in the general utopian camp.
You see, there are some things you can do by yourself. Some things you can do better by yourself than you can do with other people. But there are many, many things, particularly in this messed up world that we live in, that you can't do without the help of other people.
Human experiences, we learn, and human conditions are the results of human conduct under the operation of the law of cause and effect, or in Sanskrit, karma. Simply put, if I may, kindness brings happiness and health. Cruelty brings inevitably disease and misery.
Take one beam of light, prism of choir, bring the one eye down. 7 rays of peace, 7 rays of
At least at this point, the whole point of my making records is not so that somebody can relate more to me than to anybody else. It's so that they can relate to themselves and thereby relate to each other. I just, I want to be in a world where automatically everybody is nice to everybody. Doesn't everybody want to be in that world? I'm just stupid. I get preoccupied with it in a certain way.
First fact, the power is within. The evolutionary process occurs within us. And the outer man, when wise and informed, lives and acts accordingly. not this present name, bodily person who becomes perfect, but the spiritual self, the mon ego, the real, immortal self of woman and of man.
When I got it, it was in just incredibly horrible shape. I got it from Jackie Lomax, who had been using it as a lap guitar. The paint job had been pretty battered up, especially the back, because I think Eric wore like belt buckles sometimes and wore a lot of the paint off the back. Didn't have a conventional bridge, it had a wooden bridge that they just stuck on it. Also, when I first started playing it, in those days, anything that was a Fender-style guitar ran out at the 20th fret. You know, you couldn't get any higher than that, or at the 19th fret or something like that, somewhere well short of where you could bend a full 2 octaves on the E.
The last thing that I wanted to do was go out and do another 30-minute drum solo. Everybody had done drum solos. It was so boring, and you know, it's like, God, I don't want to hear yet another drum solo in a concert. So I said, well, if I'm going to go out and play a drum solo, it's be something unique about the experience to begin with. The official name that I deemed for the machine was called the Trapperatus, and drums being called traps in the old days, and it was an apparatus, so it became the Trapperatus. We got a motorcycle frame and we mocked it up. I remember Rick Downey, who was one of our, who did lights for us and also tour managed and things, was very kind of good at, you know, making things and creating things. So he and the rest of the crew started gathering parts. As we got further into the tour, the fun for everybody was to have the roadies run the machine as fast as possible while I was playing my solos, you know, and the centrifugal force was, you know, would just get to the point where I would actually have to hold on, and then I'm not going like this, and people are probably going, oh, look, he's doing something with one hand. It's like, well, that was just for survival.
Background, I studied classical piano and so forth, went through the obligatory lessons through childhood, and then got interested in other forms of music, and eventually ended up in Boston working for the Harp Synthesizer Company, and learned the ins and outs of synthesizers. I put out a solo record on Atlantic. It was called Cosmic Furnace. Basically synthesized jazz rock, and I guess the album had been out for about a year, and I was sort of knocking around in Boston. I'd left my job and was just doing odd concerts here and there. And I heard about Utopia. I guess they heard about me, and somebody called and said, come on down and see the band at Central Park in New York. So I did that, and I saw these 6 guys on the stage going crazy and playing all this wild music. And I said, fine, let me join. And let me go crazy too. Yeah. And I've been going crazy ever since.
Roger was brilliant in his ability to, you know, to turn a solo in a song that you would say to yourself, is that a guitar or is that a keyboard? Is that a synth part or is that a guitar part? You know, and really was able to play the synthesizer in solo sections like a guitar, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Smash it, I just want to touch you. Ladies and gentlemen, Utopia!
It's Deface the Music, when you did that little Beatles parody. Why did you do that?
Why not?
It was fun.
We thought it was a Dave Clark 5.
Is it just one of those moods, or did you actually have this planned out for a while?
No, it was just, we didn't know what we were going to do when we started that record. It just sort of came out that way.
We originally had done a song for the Roadie soundtrack, and they wouldn't accept it because they were afraid that they would be sued
by the Beatles.
I can't figure out why.
So
that was just an excuse.
That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. So we did a whole album of music like that.
Yeah, as soon as we offend somebody, we realize that's the way to go.
That's right. We do more of the same at that point.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah? You think that's weird? Yeah.
That was the whole conceptual, you know, the pyramid and the made me wear a dress, and you know, I remember calling my mother up and saying, "They're making me wear a dress, Ma, on my first album," cover, because I had a toga on the first cover. So Todd had this whole big idea, this whole big plan involved about, you know, how it was going to be, and the tour was going to coincide with the record, and it was going to be this whole big thing, and it was, you know, it was pretty cool.
I had actually, there was a lot of Egyptian mythology on my first record, Cosmic Furnace. And it's actually the Fourneau Cosmique, the alchemical furnace of Cleopatra. So I was like reading all this stuff and, you know, kind of into it. And Todd was into the whole, you know, the Eye of Horus and all this. And so I think somehow at some point it just popped into our heads that, you know, this is what we should do. So then we just went wild with it. It was like, well, you know, what can we do? How can we play inside of a pyramid?
Rising up the mountain, lighting up the valley.
We were driving around in like 3-tractor trailer trucks at the time, and we were basically like a bar band. You know, we were trying to be like the size of like Kiss, but on like a bar band budget. We'd blown the whole advance building this monstrosity. Various things would work, various things wouldn't work. Everyone had an obstacle that they needed to overcome in the show to, you know, the four obstacles of life, you know. And
forever, mounting all together in one. The holy synthesizer, inspiration showers, green and glowing gardens of love. Voices rise to one communion with the sun. With the sun.
The last official tour we did, in which we opened for the Tubes, we had brought it down pretty much to what technologically was the bare minimum possible at that point. We had little lapel mics We didn't have mic stands on the stage. We had lapel mics and ear monitors. We were the first band to use ear monitors exclusively. Of course, Willie had his little motorcycle drum kit as well. And we could set up in front of a big production band like the Tubes, you know, who would have like the whole stage covered with crap, and not have any sort of like conflict because we didn't have any monitors to set up, no mic stands to set up, nothing. And yeah, it contrasted heavily with, you know, the days of Raw and stuff like that when we had to set up a, you know, a whole pyramid every night.
And welcome to Utopia.
It's an evening with Utopia, live in concert Thanksgiving night on the USA Cable Network.
Thanksgiving night on the USA Cable Network.
11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Check your local record store for the FM station in your area that will simulcast this program.
And computers are coming on so heavy that nobody's going to bother with this intermediate technology.
Yeah.
It's limited. It's inherently limited. When you want to get more information, you got to go out somewhere and buy it. And if they haven't actually put it on the disc, you don't get it at all.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing is, once you have cable television, now they have ViewFax and data, you know, whatever systems where you can get computer data over your cable television line.
Didn't you do something with Warner Brothers cable system?
Well, we did a two-way. They have interactive cable television as well, and that's a concept that's fairly successful with the people who are involved in it as far as cable television is concerned.
30 channels, movies and drama and sports and music and TV classrooms and foreign language programs and programs for the kids and public affairs and all the network programs and even some late night blue movies for the adults. All brought to you, usually without commercials, from Cube, a word that doesn't stand for anything in particular except maybe money. The $20 or $30 million Warner Communications has poured into the most spectacular cable TV system in the world, and the millions the Warner people hope to make someday by wiring the whole country up with Touch Now television. What makes Cube work is this master computer. Every Cube subscriber is wired into it. Every 6 seconds, it sweeps 850 miles of cable to see who is tuned in, what they're watching, and how they're answering questions. It is all in the computer. The price you pay for Cube is your privacy. And there are some civil libertarians, like Professor Arthur Miller of Harvard, who say that price may be too high.
Once these large databases concerning my viewing habits, my listening habits, my attitudes, which of course are reflected in what I watch and what I think about. Once I know there is that file out there, that computerized file, I have a sense of being surveilled, and that is a civil liberties problem. That is an anti-democratic phenomenon. I don't know what this company is going to do with that data.
So I don't think people who make records have as much to worry about as people who run television networks. You know, if there's been this big anti-pay TV thing, or the movie theaters a while ago were anti-pay TV because you could get first-run movies over the television. Yeah. You know, the economic structure will just shift itself to this other thing. He will no longer go out and buy permanently recorded things. There's no point in that because eventually they do one or two things. They wear out. Or you wear out. Yeah. You know, you get tired of it.
Basically, I like to do movies because of what movies are, but I like to do video because of what video is and the different form of media that it takes. The sole purpose of Utopia Video is content-oriented. All studios that are built nowadays are technique-oriented.
Right. Okay, I got you.
Invariably, because they're built to capitalize off of whatever productions happen, independent productions happen to be out there, or even in-house productions like NBC, Studio City. They're all oriented towards a technique rather than a content or aesthetic. They're made to be expedient, to do things very quickly. By contrast, when we do things in Utopia Video, it's more like working on a film than working on video.
So you're working towards the future instead of just...
Essentially.
MTV, when they were forming, there were bids going out on the satellite that, like, Todd had actually bid on doing essentially what MTV was going to do, but it was going to be like more live concerts. That was another part of the concept that he had, was this video studio not only being a production facility for people to come up and produce things offline, but they would be able to actually have live broadcasts as well of concerts, and so people would, he could produce these concerts and have them broadcast all over the world. And I think there was like a drawing or something for the bid, and the people who were starting MTV got it and Todd didn't get it. So Todd's never been very fond of MTV, and I think part of it may have come from from this initial disappointment.
I can still feel your words. I don't cry, no matter how much it hurts. My head may go crazy, my heart it may burst, but I won't be a fool no more. No, I won't be a fool no more. It's the very last time you'll get on my case. The very last time, but I won't be a fool. The very last time you will step on my face. The very last time, 'cause I won't be a fool no more.
We could just talk for hours about this, but we really don't have
But we
time.
won't.
We just, so I'm afraid we can't.
Hey, how about those videos?
It's just, they suck. What do you want? No, it's too.
They're commercials.
Yeah, commercials. If you're into commercials. We've always had an interest in video. It unfortunately is an extremely expensive medium to work in, so we don't do as much of it as, say, Duran Duran.
Or Rick Springfield.
And as people, we're just more, when we do them, we're more careful, in what we do. We try and be just more original.
You just seem to be the perfect group for video.
Yeah, but you're up against the same thing as when putting records out. In fact, it's even a more limited market. I mean, if you think about what MTV is, it's like one radio station. I mean, what if there was one radio station in the country? What would they play? They would play just all the most, cream of the commercial crop. It's the same thing with MTV. I mean, if we make something that's too outside for them, which a lot of us that has been, or controversial or whatever, they're just going to say, well, this is interesting, and put it on a few times, and then people call up and they want to see, Olivia Newton-John or something.
Def Leppard.
So it's even harder to break into that market.
these guitars are made entirely out of aluminum. Well, John Veleno was a machinist, and all the parts are custom machined, and everything on this guitar, the body and the neck, everything is aluminum. There's absolutely no wood on this guitar whatsoever. The pickups are D-Armans, single coils that... No, almost all the other Velenos have humbuckers on them.
Yeah.
This is the only one I've seen with these pickups.
And it just came into a shop, and I'd always wanted one, but you hardly ever saw them for sale because they're so rare. And most people who owned them, there was Todd Rundgren had one, Mark Bolan.
I read Clapton owned one at some
Maybe
stage.
at some point, yeah.
So do they know where all of the guitars are? Is there...
I don't know if everyone knows. Well, there's so few. I know Hans Zimmer has a few.
Shall we plug it in?
Why
See what
not?
it sounds like.